Hi, and welcome to my series where I redraw my very old drawings and make a speed paint for them and show you guys. By you guys, I mean the 4 subscribers I currently have. Anyways, today we're working on this drawing I made in May of 2013, and oh boy, there is a lot of things wrong with this image. If you didn't already see it just by looking at it, you can probably tell his head is a bit too small for his body and his eyes are a bit high up, his nose is too high up. So I even made a little chart here of all the things wrong with his freaking face. So I'm gonna point out all the things wrong and all the things I have highlighted here. Let's start with the hat that's up here. It's kind of just floating in the air. I guess it was supposed to be like wind to zip the hat off his head, but it doesn't. It just looks like there's a floating hat in the corner of the image. There's random highlights on his hair. It's like that anime thing where they have the white just across the hair. I can't tell what I did for the shading. It looks like I just put a base color and then have a really light shading, and then a lot of airbrush was involved, and in a lot of my early drawings a lot of airbrush was involved. There's random dark shading underneath the chin here. I don't know why. I did draw like that for a really long time and I don't know why. So obviously his nose is too far up, and I even think his eyes are too low. So it's just all squashed together, making it kind of look like a shitpost. Like, this was intentional, yes. The head is, like I said, the head's too small, nose too high, there's random dark shading. These collarbones don't make sense. Like, there's this circle, big red circle, says everything circled here is just wrong. There's this huge ass bow, about as big as his head, and I think that's supposed to be plaid? I don't know what to do about that. The shading's really bad, the line art's really bad, but this is when I was drawing with a mouse, so I guess for a mouse drawing, it's pretty impressive. So here's the redraw I've done. This is just a sketch, but you can see my obviously traced rose. I'm not good at drawing roses, so I just traced this one. I usually would use a reference, but I just was a bit too lazy. I also traced the hand because I couldn't get it right, but I used a reference for this pose. And I really like how it turned out. He's obviously wearing around the same outfit, but this time I gave him like a tailcoat type thing. My cat's over there jumping on the bed. I still kept the bow, because apparently this character just has a huge ass bow for no reason. And I'm gonna go color and shade him. So there was a lot of mistakes I used to make back when I was first starting digital art. The most common thing I would do was use the airbrush tool to shade everything. This is a huge no-no. There is a such thing as soft shading, but this was just simply abuse of the airbrush tool. Because back then my DeviantArt actually got more attention than it does now. Actually got a lot of good compliments back then, and I think as a budding artist it's really important to receive good feedback. I think constructive criticism is also really important. But putting artists down, especially artists who are just starting out, only discourages them. I mean, like, not all artists start out having all the work looking fantastic. I wish I would have received a lot more constructive criticism back then. Because if you're a starting artist, try to show as many people and fellow artists. Well, try to show your work to as many people and fellow artists as you can, and even ask someone to critique something of yours. And it may seem scary, but actually it really helps in the long run. this is the end result of the redraw. There are quite a few things that I did differently. The first thing you'll notice is different is definitely the pose. Instead of having his hat flying off in the wind, I decided to have him holding it. I feel like that looks a lot nicer than it just floating off on the side of the screen. I also added a texture to this image. I used shell shading instead of using this awful technique of airbrush shading. I gave him a jacket. This time it is a black jacket, so he's not wearing all white. It was going to be white at first, but I felt like black looked a lot nicer, and it does. I gave the tie, or this bow, a plaid texture instead of actually drawing the plaid on myself, because it probably would have ended up looking really bad anyways. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and like this video if you want to see any more redraws.